Hi everyone, welcome back to Ways of the World, a brief global history with sources. We are going to start our study of milestones of the past century, a changing global landscape, 1950 to the present, with recovering from the war. All right, African independence achieved. So this poster depicts an Independence Day celebration in the new West African nation of Ghana in 1957. Its exuberance reflects a sense of great achievement that came with the defeat of colonial rule and the immense hopes for the future that independence promised. Let's contextualize. What major global shifts facilitated independence movements of the late 20th century? Well, the decline of Europe after the devastation of World War II and the emergence of the bipolar world of the Cold War account for the independence movements of the late 20th century. All right, European recovery. All right, Europeans rebuilt industrial economy and they revived the democratic political systems. The industrial society was resilient. They were able to integrate economies with other Western European countries. And the European Economic Community, the EEC, of 1957 became the European Union in 1994. The U.S. emerged as a global superpower after 1945 and became the center of Western civilization. The Marshall Plan sent $12 billion advisors and technicians to Europe to help rebuild. And that there's an indication there of the intent to lead. NATO was established, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, in 1949, the U.S. defending Europe against the Soviet Union. Japan became an economic giant in the 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s, and they depended on the U.S. for military security. In the Soviet Union, convict labor force for cheap labor and cheap essentials. All right, the growth of European integration. So during the second half of the 20th century, Europeans gradually put aside their bitter rivalries and entered into various forms of economic cooperation with one another, although these efforts fell short of complete political union. And this map illustrates the growth of what is now called the European Union. So how would you describe the growth of the European Union? Where did it start and into which regions did it expand? What explains the number of new members after 1900 in Eastern and Southeastern Europe? Now, the EU started in Western Europe. In the 1970s and 1980s, it expanded north to the British Isles and Denmark, west to Spain, and southeast to Greece. After the Cold War ended around 1990, it expanded into the states that were formerly members of the Soviet Union. So presently, it aims to expand further into Southeastern Europe and maybe even Turkey. Interpreting the map. Why might Russia have found the recent growth of the European Union threatening to its interests? Well, for well over a century, Russians have been fearful of German expansion, the reasons being evident in the political situation that led to World Wars I and II. As such, for example, Stalin retained political control of Eastern Europe after World War II. With the EU expansion into that region after 1990, those previous buffer states have joined the democratic regimes of Western Europe, threatening Russian interests. Clearly, this map with the growth of European integration does not reflect the United Kingdom's referendum to exit the European Union. And this concludes our study of recovering from the war. I'll see you guys next time.